There is a force within every human being, silent and unseen, that separates the dreamers from the doers. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not opportunity. It's discipline. The quiet power that wakes you before the sun. The inner flame that keeps burning when motivation burns out. The unwavering decision to keep showing up even when everything in you wants to quit. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it is the difference between wishing for something and achieving it. Discipline is not something you are born with. It's something you choose every day, every hour, every moment. When the alarm goes off and your bed whispers stay, discipline says rise. When distraction pulls you toward comfort, discipline pulls you back toward purpose. It is the voice in your head that says, do it anyway, even when it's boring, even when it's painful, even when no one's watching. People want success. They want strength. They want transformation, but they don't want the process. They don't want the sacrifice. They don't want the lonely hours, the missed parties, the early mornings, the late nights. They don't want the repetition, but discipline doesn't care about your feelings. Discipline is not emotional, it's committed. It's not about excitement, it's about execution. It doesn't ask how you feel, it tells you what to do. There will be moments when distractions will come disguised as opportunities, when laziness will dress itself as rest, when quitting will look like peace. But if you're committed to growth, you'll see through the illusion. You'll understand that discipline is not punishment, it's protection. It protects you from the regret that always follows inconsistency. It guards your goals from the sabotage of temporary emotion. It shields your future from the destruction of the present moment. True discipline is forged in the dark, when no one sees you working, when no one is clapping, when there are no likes, no followers, no praise. Just you, your grind, your standard, your why. That's where discipline is born, in those quiet, lonely, thankless spaces where most people give up. But not you. You keep going. You keep building. You keep showing up. And slowly, silently, the results begin to rise. People will start to notice the change. They'll ask what your secret is. They'll wonder what you're doing differently, but they won't understand the sacrifices you've made, the discipline you've enforced. They won't see the nights you went without sleep, the temptations you said no to, the comfort you walked away from. And that's okay, because discipline doesn't need an audience. It just needs consistency. It's easy to dream big when everything is going well, when you're inspired, when you're motivated, when life feels easy. But discipline kicks in when all of that fades, when the fire goes out and the grind sets in, when progress slows and resistance rises, when every part of you wants to take the day off and you do it anyway. That's discipline, the daily death of your excuses, the constant silencing of your inner weakness, the refusal to let comfort kill your calling. The world is full of people with potential, with talent, with dreams, but very few with discipline. That's why so many settle for average, because average is easy. Average doesn't require effort. But greatness demands discipline, not just once, but every single day. The discipline to say no, the discipline to stay focused, the discipline to do the hard thing when the easy thing is calling your name. When you have discipline, you don't need to rely on motivation. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need someone to push you, because you've trained yourself to show up no matter what, rain or shine, inspired or not. You move, you act, you execute. That's what separates the committed from the curious. That's what makes people look back and say, I did that, I earned that, I became that. And discipline doesn't just shape your body or your business, it shapes your mind. It rewires the way you think. It strengthens your ability to delay gratification, to resist temptation, to endure discomfort. It trains you to be mentally tough, emotionally resilient, spiritually focused. It turns chaos into order, confusion into clarity, noise into silence. And slowly you begin to build a life that that reflects your standards, not your mood. It's a hard path. It's the road less traveled, but every step is worth it because discipline doesn't just give you success, it gives you freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from inconsistency, freedom from dependence on motivation. When you're disciplined, you don't wait for life to give you what you want. You go out and build it with your bare hands, one hard decision at a time. You'll lose people along the way. People who don't understand your drive, who think you're too focused, too intense, too disciplined, but let them talk. They don't know the fire you carry. They don't know what you've survived. They don't know the dreams that keep you up at night. This is your life, your legacy, your time, and you only get one shot to make it count. So when you feel tired, show up anyway. When you feel unmotivated, move anyway. When you feel like quitting, remember why you started. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. You'll slip, you'll fall, you'll fail, but you get back up again and again because the mission is bigger than the mistake. The purpose is greater than the pain. Every day you choose discipline, you take back control of your life. You stop being a prisoner of your feelings and become the master of your future. You stop chasing short-term pleasure and start building long-term strength. You stop blaming and start becoming. Because discipline doesn't blame, it builds. It doesn't excuse, it executes. It doesn't hope, it hunts. And over time, your discipline becomes your identity. You no longer say, I'm trying to be disciplined, and you say, I am disciplined. It becomes who you are, how you move, how you think, how you live. And from that place of strength, you do what most never will. You stay consistent, you stay locked in, you stay aligned, and everything in your life begins to reflect that level of commitment. There will be moments when you're tempted to give up, to go back to comfort, to chase quick wins. But remember this, the easy road always ends in regret. The hard road always leads to growth. Discipline is the bridge between the life you want and the life you live. Every choice matters. Every step counts. Every sacrifice adds up. So stay the course. Ignore the noise. Embrace the repetition. Trust the process. You may not see results right away, but you're planting seeds. Seeds that will grow roots. Roots that will anchor you. And one day, you'll look up and realize you didn't just reach your goals, you became a new person. Not because of what you achieved, but because of who you became in the process. That's the power of discipline. It's not just about getting things done. It's about becoming someone worth being, someone who keeps their word, someone who follows through, someone who doesn't fold under pressure, someone who builds a legacy that lasts. So the next time you feel like skipping the work, the next time comfort calls your name, the next time distraction whispers your escape, choose discipline, choose focus, choose strength. You're not doing this for today's ease. You're doing this for tomorrow's excellence. And when the world asks how you made it, how you kept going, how you rose from nothing to greatness, you won't need to explain because your life will speak for itself. Every scar will be proof. Every win will be testimony. And every quiet moment of self-mastery will echo louder than any applause. Discipline built you. Discipline kept you. Discipline made you unstoppable. When you finally decide to stop pouring your energy into everything and everyone around you, something begins to shift. At first, it's quiet, subtle, almost invisible, but deep inside you can feel it. A new presence awakening in you, a stillness, a strength. It's the beginning of your elevation. The moment you stop scattering your power outward and begin turning it inward, you unlock a force that no outside validation, no applause, no approval could ever give you. Most people spend their entire lives in a performance, trying to be seen, trying to be liked, trying to prove something to a world that barely notices them. They waste their fire chasing what doesn't serve them. Their worth becomes a mirror reflecting the noise around them. instead of a fire lit within. But those who rise, those who evolve, those who break free, they're the ones who stop giving everything away. They realize that not every opinion matters. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every invitation deserves a response. They pull their energy back. They protect their peace, and in doing so, they elevate. You don't grow by yelling louder. You grow by getting quieter. You don't rise by fighting everything around you. You rise by building everything within you. Because real elevation doesn't come from the outside. It's not in followers, money, or attention. It's in mastery, self-respect, focus. And the only way to reach that kind of power is to stop feeding every distraction that begs for your attention. Elevation is not a performance. It is a process of becoming. There is something sacred about detaching from the noise, about no longer needing to be understood, no longer begging to be accepted. That's when your soul begins to breathe again. That's when you stop giving your energy to meaningless arguments, pointless comparisons, or toxic relationships. When you step back from the chaos and start pouring into yourself, your health, your mind, your craft, your growth, you begin to rise. The higher you go, the quieter it gets. The more you grow, the less you need to prove. The more you focus inward, the less anything outside of you can shake your foundation. Because when your confidence comes from internal alignment instead of external applause, you become unshakable. You don't need to yell your value, you embody it. You don't need to chase opportunities, you attract them. You don't need to win approval, you've already approved of yourself. Elevation requires solitude. It requires sacrifice. You can't take everyone with you. You can't hold on to every old habit. You can't keep watering dead plants and expect to bloom. That's why so many people stay stuck. They fear letting go. But nothing grows in a comfort zone. Nothing changes when you keep feeding the same cycles. You have to make a bold decision to stop leaking energy into what drains you and start investing that power into what builds you. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you rise. Every time you choose self-respect over people-pleasing, you rise. Every time you choose peace over drama, you rise. It might not feel like a grand moment. It might not feel like a victory. But every quiet decision you make to protect your focus is a step upward. And when those steps become consistent, they turn into a climb. And one day you look around and realize you're not the same. You've outgrown your old fears. You've outgrown your old reactions. You've outgrown your old life. Elevation isn't loud. It's not always noticeable at first. It's in the way you no longer need to respond to nonsense. It's in the way you guard your time, your energy, your heart. It's in the way you speak to yourself, the way you show up for yourself, the way you prioritize your values over your impulses. While others are busy trying to be seen, you're focused on being better. While others are arguing, you're evolving. While others are wasting time, you're building a legacy. You learn that the true reward of growth is not recognition, it's peace, it's clarity, it's alignment. It's waking up without anxiety because you're no longer pretending to be someone you're not. It's looking in the mirror and seeing someone you respect, someone who has earned their elevation not by chance, but by choice. You chose to rise. You chose to change. You chose to let go of what was easy so you could step into what was right. This rise isn't for the faint of heart. It will cost you your excuses. It will challenge your habits. It will test your patience. But the result, it will give you yourself, the strongest, sharpest, clearest version of you, the one who no longer seeks validation because they already know who they are. The one who doesn't explain their boundaries because they live them with grace and firmness. The one who understands that silence can be louder than words and stillness can be more powerful than motion. Not everyone will understand your elevation. That's okay. It's not meant for them, it's meant for you. Some will think you've changed. Some will feel like you're distant. Some will resent your growth. Let them. Their opinion is not your burden. Their comfort is not your responsibility. Their confusion is not your crisis. Keep climbing. Keep rising. Keep pouring into the parts of you that make you unstoppable. Because when you rise, you don't just change your life. You change your frequency. You stop attracting what you've outgrown. You stop engaging with what no longer feeds your spirit. You become more selective, not because you're better than anyone, but because you've become better for yourself. You've seen what happens when you give your energy to the wrong places. You've felt the burnout, the emptiness, the regret. And now you choose different. You choose you. You start feeding your mind with truth, not noise. You start feeding your body with strength, not comfort. You start feeding your soul with vision, not fear. You become your own sanctuary, your own source, your own fire, and no one can take that from you because you didn't borrow it, you built it through your choices, through your effort, through your refusal to give up. Elevation is about alignment, about rising in such a way that your outer life begins to reflect your inner work. No more pretending, no more pleasing, no more performing, just authenticity, integrity, power. You don't chase anymore, you attract. You don't react, you choose. You don't compete, you create. There's a sacred power in this kind of growth, a fire that cannot be dimmed by the opinions of others, a resilience that doesn't need to prove itself, a direction that doesn't need applause. And that's the kind of power you were born for, the kind that comes when you stop letting the world drain you and start letting your purpose drive you. So if you feel yourself being pulled away from old conversations, old places, old energies, don't fight it. That's the signal. That's the elevation calling you. Pull back, refocus, redirect. It's time to stop leaking your greatness into empty spaces. It's time to rise quietly, consistently, powerfully. And when people ask how you did it, how you changed, how you elevated without announcing it, without forcing it, without breaking under pressure, just smile, because you'll know the truth. You stopped wasting your energy outward, and you started building yourself inward, and from that place, everything changed. That's the rise no one can see until it's undeniable. That's the growth that needs no permission. That's the elevation that only happens when you take full ownership of your focus, your energy, and your life. You were never meant to stay on the ground. You were never meant to beg for attention. You were born to rise, to evolve, to become. And it begins the moment you decide your energy is too precious to waste, and your power is far too great to give away. So keep building, keep rising, keep turning inward. Your next level isn't found in the noise, it's found in the silence where all true transformation begins. There is a kind of power that makes no sound, carries no badge, and doesn't care for applause. It doesn't demand recognition, nor does it chase validation. This kind of power doesn't argue, it doesn't defend, it doesn't explain, it simply is. It lives in the hearts of those who have grown tired of justifying their existence, to people who never deserved an explanation in the first place. It grows quietly beneath the surface, like deep roots in the earth, becoming stronger with every moment of silence, every decision to walk away, every refusal to shrink. Real power is restraint. Real power is silence. Real power is standing tall without the need to prove that you belong. The most dangerous person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who sits back, watches everything, says nothing, and knows exactly who they are. You don't have to raise your voice when your presence already speaks volumes. You don't have to justify your worth when you've already lived it. You don't have to react to the noise when you've mastered your peace. This world will try to make you explain yourself, your goals, your dreams, your boundaries, your values. But the more you mature, the more you realize that explanation is often a trap. The moment you start defending your truth to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, you've already lost a piece of your power. There are those who don't want to understand. They want to provoke, to diminish, to control, and the strongest response is no response. Not because you're weak, but because you've outgrown the need to be right. You've outgrown the need to convince people to see you clearly. Power is knowing who you are, even when the world gets it wrong. There is liberation in silence, a beautiful rebellion in choosing peace over performance. You reach a point where you no longer care to be in the room if the room doesn't respect your presence. You no longer want to be understood by people who only listen to argue. You no longer invest in proving your heart when someone's mind is already made up. You retreat, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You walk away, not because you've given up, but because you finally understand the value of your time, your spirit, and your voice. Some people mistake silence for weakness. They think if you're not defending yourself, you're defeated. But they're wrong. The loudest one isn't always the strongest. The one who needs to always be heard is often the one with the weakest foundation. True power is quiet because it doesn't need to announce itself. It shows up in your discipline, in your calm, in your consistency, in your refusal to be dragged into battles that cost you your peace. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them wonder why you're not reacting, not explaining, not participating in the chaos. That's your power showing. That's your growth in action. You're choosing stillness, choosing presence, choosing clarity. The more you heal, the less you explain. The more you evolve, the more you protect your energy. The more you know your value, the less you give people the opportunity to question it. You do not owe your transformation to anyone. You do not have to narrate your healing. You don't need to provide a press release every time you make a decision that someone else doesn't agree with. Your life is not a debate stage. You don't need to prove why you chose peace over people, purpose over popularity, silence over spectacle. When you stop explaining, something sacred happens. You begin conserving energy. You stop burning fuel on people who were never going to drive with you. You stop watering dead plants. You stop pouring into empty vessels. You begin pouring back into yourself. Your soul becomes full again. And from that fullness you operate. From that fullness you lead. From that fullness you rise. You're not here to convince others of your light. You're here to be the light. Unbothered, unapologetic, unshaken. And the less you say, the more they feel it. The less you speak, the more your presence speaks for you. Because nothing confuses small minds more than a person who refuses to be rattled by noise. They'll push, they'll poke, they'll try to ignite the old version of you. But when the old you no longer answers, they have nothing to feed off. And that's when you win. That's when you've arrived at a new level, a level where power doesn't react. Power redirects. People will test your silence. They will assume that no response means permission, that your calm means guilt. But let them. You don't need to correct every lie. You don't need to clarify every rumor. You don't need to confront every false narrative. The truth has a strange way of surviving even when buried, and time has a brutal honesty. It reveals everything. What is hidden will come to light. What is real will remain. What is fake will fall. Your job is not to chase exposure. Your job is to stay aligned. Keep building, keep healing, keep moving. You cannot grow and argue at the same time. You cannot evolve and stay in the mud of small minds. You cannot focus and constantly look back to defend your every step. Growth demands that you travel light, and defending your every move is a heavy load to carry. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. It says more about them than it ever will about you, and in time they'll either outgrow the need to judge or remove themselves from your orbit. Either way, you win. Power is knowing that silence doesn't mean submission. It means stability. It means you've stopped being reactive and started being intentional. It means you've stopped being a puppet to others' opinions and started leading your own narrative. You don't just act, you choose. You don't just respond, you consider. And that kind of control, that kind of calm, that's rare, that's sacred, that's powerful. Not everyone is meant to walk with you. Not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone deserves access to your vulnerability, and that's okay. You are not a project for others to dissect. You are not a puzzle for them to solve. You are a whole, evolving being, and you do not need to be simplified for someone else's comfort. Silence, in this case, is not hiding. It's honoring yourself, honoring your journey, honoring your strength. There's a quiet joy in watching people realize they no longer have access to the version of you they once took for granted. You're no longer available for their drama, no longer accessible to their projections. You're not angry, you're just focused. You're not bitter, you're just building. You're not avoiding, you're evolving. When you step into this level of self-awareness, you begin attracting differently. You no longer chase. You no longer cling, you simply stand. And those who resonate with your frequency will find you, not because you yelled, not because you begged, but because your energy now speaks clearly and powerfully for you. So stay in your power, stay in your silence, not to hide, but to rise. Let your consistency speak louder than your explanations. Let your results be the answer to every doubt. Let your peace irritate their chaos, because the ones who are still fighting for attention won't understand the ones who found power in presence. But that's not your concern. You've graduated from needing permission to be powerful. Now you just are. And in the end, when the noise fades and the drama dies down, all that's left is what you built in silence. Your character, your peace, your legacy. And none of it required you to explain, defend, or prove. You just kept walking. You just kept growing. You just kept choosing power over and over again. And that is unshakable, that is untouchable, that is the kind of power that changes everything.